The only job you have is to work, retire and die. That's it. That's your only job here. That's what they care about. You are simply an economic vessel. You are there to prop up the government and government services that really a lot of the time you don't benefit from. And you're there to bail out rich people and to increase their wealth share over time. So that's it. If you choose to accept that role in life, good luck to you. But if you're like one of the many of millions of people waking up to this nonsense and this ridiculousness and this shocking, abysmal treatment of citizens of this great country, it was a great country, and we still can be a great country, but we have to start finding our voice or finding our rebellions. If you still have any uncertainty, or you are under some kind of illusion about what the powers that be think about you, I think it's become very, very clear today. It's April 1st, it's April Fool's Day. Energy prices up, water bills up, council tax record up, TV, broadband, internet up, costs spiraling out of control, the working and middle classes being squeezed like you would not believe, from a government that said in their last election manifesto that things like council tax would not rise, but they did, and to record levels. For better services, better infrastructure, less potholes? I don't think so. How are you feeling about the cost of living crisis that's being imposed on you by the powers above and beyond? If you're like some economists, they are deeply pessimistic about the future of the working and middle classes. If you're of a business or entrepreneurial class, you are seeing opportunities everywhere, and it's just so easy for people to find that next big idea and make a good business around it and make a lot of money, and then become part of this rich elite that are enforcing their will and moving governments and people into masses of debt, mountains of debt that is passed through the generations now. If you're the average guy or gal, you're kind of caught right in the middle, trying to make sense of things, trying to pay your bills, trying to put food on the table, finding something to believe in. Back in the day, it was castles like this one that were used to contain the human spirit and to launch all-out assault on enemies of the state. These days it's done through costs and markets and squeezing people until they can't afford to live a decent life. Now, if you're like me, you kind of disagree with this. You kind of think there could be a different way to do things, where not just the wealthy win, but everyone wins. It's why more and more people are taking to the nomadic existence, not just a rebellion against the system, but a statement of intent about a future that people want to create and yearn for, which is a high quality, nature-centered human experience. Human nature, earthly nature. These two things kind of converge very nicely for the nomad, because I think nomads these days, the modern day nomad, they embody this freedom of spirit, this freedom of thought, this freedom of mind, this freedom of movement that has been cherished, celebrated throughout the centuries, but it's also been suppressed and guarded against. So we've got some choices to make about the kind of future we want to create outside of the system, but for ourselves. What I find interesting about these times that we're living in, the cost of living crisis, political upheaval, uncertainty across the global economy now, constant endless wars, this constant wave of attack on the working class people, increasingly on the middle class. A few years ago people were in strong positions to achieve a good solid existence on this planet, a really decent quality of life, but that really hasn't been passed down the generations. And this bombardment against people, constant pressure and stresses on people, something's got to give. I think in the future, well actually we need it right now, the castles that we create, like this one here, will need to be created inside this element, inside our mind, with our thoughts. They can either be positive or negative, we can choose that. Our decisions and actions in terms of the life we want to live. We can remove ourselves from the system as much as possible, or we can call for a new system. We can do what has been done for centuries and call for change. But increasingly we'll have to make choices, really strong choices, about where we stand on things, what we want, what is the future looking like. Now I think, if you're like America, you'll probably move towards a more individualistic situation. And I suppose that's what the powers that be really do want. They want people separate. They don't want communities. They don't want strength in numbers, because that's harder to manage. What they want is you looking after you, isolated, alone, consuming the things you want, doing the things that you want, and not giving a thought for anyone else. And then it's easy pickings, because there'll be no fight back, there'll be no community uprise, there'll be none of that. So whilst the nomadic path may seem to be individualistic, actually it's not. There are millions of us worldwide opting for something different. So that's worth remembering when you embark on this kind of journey. You are definitely not alone. There are millions of us, and that number, for good reasons and negative reasons, is increasing every single day. I've got to say, Sandy's throne, you've seen that video of his converted horse box. That throne room's still pretty good, but I do like this throne, I must say. The good people at Eleglide have kindly sent me this bike because they understand I like options when I'm traveling. So they've sent me this mountain bike to test out. So I've given it a good whirl, and I've got to say, so far so good. It's really impressive. Whizzes along, and there's a lot of great features about it. I'm no bag salesman, but check these people out. But it's a great addition to my nomadic setup. When I'm traveling, I tend to like options, so I usually take a folding bike, similar to Jeff actually, who had a folding bike on his boat. I think it's great when you're traveling around and you can go out and get your groceries and do some sightseeing on bike rather than using the car or the van all the time. So that's perfect. When I go into mountains or go and explore ancient castles and course, I really do enjoy a mountain bike, and it was something I was looking to add to my nomadic setup and give me a different choice. So as fate would have it, these people reached out to Eleglide and sent me this one, so I'm very happy with it so far. There'll be a link in the description if you want to find out more about this M2 version of the bag that they offer. But it's been great coming up the hills and the mountain trail so far, and I'm tempted to test it on the world's steepest road. The world's steepest street is just over my right shoulder here. Should I? I think it might give the people at HQ a little panic attack. Yeah, I'm going to do it. See you on the other side. Here we go. Okay, around this bend is where it gets really tasty, so I'm going to have to be on point on this one. Not sure you're getting the scale of this on camera, but it's basically straight down. Very dicey indeed. Let's try going up. I've got to say, I'm impressed with that. Going up and going down. The brakes held up and no problem driving up it either. Very nice, very nice. I've always said as a Nomad it's great to have options and choices available for whatever setup you have. It's interesting, we'll talk about minimalism in a different video, but adding things to your setup that really add value and make a difference and are going to be long lasting, that's a really great thing to do. I think too often, and I've been guilty of this, we buy stuff that we don't need and we never use, but nomadism really brings you down to the fine details of what adds to the experience of being a nomad, what is practical, powerful and potent in terms of your use every single day. You see my reaction to people's ovens when I go in their vans and things. That's pure decadence, that's luxury for a nomad. But when you find something that really brings you joy or kind of really adds something to your nomadic experience, it's worth its weight in gold. Sometimes you have to get through some crap to get to that eureka moment, but it makes a difference every single day. Let's enjoy the sunset. "22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Lift off. 26 kilometers per hour. 26K. Woohoo! Yeah, baby.